welcome back to the DCS mission editor. I stumbled onto an interesting thing that I wasn't for sure that it would work, and it did mostly work, and so I wanted to point that out and kind of show people what I did and what the usefulness of it is to me. And that is setting up radio triggers to spawn in certain units. And I went ahead and tied that into one of the old videos I did where I'm setting up multiple late activation units to spawn in semi-randomly. It's not really random, but it's semi-randomly. I have not figured out how to use a trigger zone to spawn a unit somewhere in that zone. I think there's probably a way. It probably involves scripting though. I don't know that for a fact. That kind of thing was much easier in ARMA than it is in DCS. But anyway, you can make. I know that you can make semi-random spawns, and I know that you can use radio signals to spawn in what you've got or what you're going to fight at that particular time. And again, the reason I did this, if I haven't said it already, I fly sometimes online with my friend Warlock, and I never really know what he's going to want to fly and what he's going to want to do with the thing that we're flying. And so I decided to put in a few possibilities so that we could load one mission, we could fly one of the, attack one particular type of target, and then go land and rearm, and then attack a different type of target, and do this for about an hour and a half, something like that. And then if we need to, we can reload the mission. One downside to this, and then I'll get into it, you can't, again, you can't fully randomize this, and also you can't respawn these things. And then there's a glitch that I found that I'll show here in a little bit. It doesn't cause any problems, but it's a little bit annoying, and I don't quite know yet how to fix that. So the first thing that I've got here is I just have two client A10C2 tank killers and two client F16 Vipers. And these are the two aircraft that we can fly. You can put in as many of them as you want. You can set up a really crazy mission with a lot of different possibilities if you want, but I kept it fairly simple. And then you can see a lot of units, but there's not that many in game, certainly not at any given time. We will start with the CAD stuff. So, and you can also spread these groups of units out if you want, but these are identical units, and they're the same. These three are all the same to each other basically. And I've named them SAM1, SAM2, and SAM3, as you can see up here. And the names are very important, so don't forget that. And I've just placed them in three semi-random locations nearby each other. Again, I could move this one way out here. I could move this one way out here, just to keep the player guessing a little bit. But anyway, that sets those up. And then I also have, well, we'll do these fighters. I have groups of fighters. These are flank 1, 2, and 3, and they're coming from 3 different directions. And I've got them searching and engaging in this zone. This could probably be done a little bit differently because I'm just sort of assuming that we were going to go do CAD and then call these guys in, and so we would be in this region up here somewhere. You could also set it to engage unit and then set it to one of these units, but you're making assumptions about what units you're saying. What I'm saying is there's probably more ninja ways to take care of that, where these guys go and engage, but this seems to work fairly well. If you're in the air, they detect you, they engage you, and we've tested that. I've got one unit here, and this is just an ACM practice where it's for guns only. It's 2 Su-27s set on ACE. I didn't really feel like I needed to randomize that very much because we weren't practicing using our search radars or anything like that. We wanted to know where they were so that we could go and shoot at them with guns, and that was it. So then here I've got this airport, and these units are static. They are always there. I didn't really want to randomize those, but the armor column, which is the real target here, there are 3 of those, and it's Arm 1, Arm 2, and Arm 3. So I have 3 of those once again. And these are here just to kind of mix it up a little bit and make sure that the A-10s can't just swoop in and start killing things without any worries whatsoever. they do have to kind of orbit, find out where things are, take out the bigger SAM and AA threats if they can, and then they can engage the armor. So that's what that's all about. So those are the units, and you've got to get these units kind of set up and organized. Sometimes I'll take notes on paper on my desk while I'm building the mission out, and try to keep it straight in my head so that I don't forget to name these things. If you forget to name them, it gets problematic. And then the next thing you need to do is go into the triggers. And since I am using some randomization, I have this first trigger is basically just once 5 seconds after the mission starts, I set flag 1, or I'm sorry, flag 10. And again, this is where some organization can really help. But flag 10, I set it between 1 and 100. I didn't want it to be 0 and 100 because I think that includes the min and the max. That should include the min and the max. So it can be 1 to 100. This I have as a repetitive action, and I think that this is why my glitch is happening, which is that I see all of the items on the radio listed numerous times, I think. But anyway, time more than 10, and then it adds in this radio item, flag 1, value 1. I'll talk more about that later. Flag 2, value 1, flag 3, value 1, and flag 4, value 1. So you got to keep track of which one's CAD, which one's BVR, which one's ACM. So then, if you want to do the gun training, when flag 1 is true, because back here, if we go to ACM training, which I should have named this ACM as well. I thought I did, but it's flag 1. Okay, so when flag 1 becomes true, we activate the group guns and we play this message. And I just put in some stuff to let the players know what's about to happen. It also gives a little bit of positive feedback to let you know that it worked. It triggered. So that spawns in the ACM. So here we have CAD training 1, flag 2 is true, and flag 10 is more than 0 and less than 34. This is where the randomization comes in. So group activate SAM 1, and then this message plays. 2 is the same, but it's the middle sector of numbers for flag 10. Same message plays. The second group activates. 3, it's the same deal, but it's the top numbers. And of course here you can go more than 0, and on the top end you go less than 101. That way if it hits 1 or if it hits 100, you've captured that value. I hope that makes sense. And then we basically use the exact same triggers for BVR, but we're just using flag 3 in this case, and we're doing different groups. We have a different message set up, but it's the same trigger. You're just changing the name, the flag that you're using, and the name of the group that's activating, and if you want the message. Same is true for CAS. So to boil this down, and I'm trying to make this as quick as possible, but also explain it the best that I can. To break this down, and this may not be the best way to do it, but to break this down, you have the first trigger, and this is just to set a random value for this flag to use for semi-randomization later on. We add the radio events in, and then we set up the triggers for when I use those radio events. And we use flag 10, and then whichever flag it is for the proper radio event to call in the units that we want. And that's all it takes. So it's kind of cool. And let me change this. No, I think I do want that to be a repetitive action though, because I want to be able to call it repeatedly. Although it'll add that, we're going to change this to once. We're going to try that because I think it just adds the items once, and then you can use them. So that might actually fix my mission. We'll see. One thing that I forgot was I have this set to allies only. I don't want to know when we're playing the mission. I don't want to know where they are. But for testing purposes, I need to set it to all so that I can make sure that they spawn in properly. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to pick this F-16. This is one of the trucks that's already there at the airport, so no worries there. Takes it a while to load in sometimes. Okay, there we go. Let's fly. Oh, the skin got broken. Most of the skins got broken. Okay, so now everything's loaded in. We've had more than 5 seconds go by. Actually, more than 10 seconds go by is more to the point. So we're going to go to the parent menu, and now we've got that F10 other. We can hit that. Ah, it did fix it. So I don't want to repetitively do that. I want it to just be a once trigger. So we're going to call in the ACM, and these two guys popped up, and our message shows up. Now, I should have shown this before. You'll notice over here we've got those units, but we do not have the armor. There's also no SAMs up here, and there's no other flankers anywhere. Okay, we'll go back here, and I'm going to make sure that I can still call in. Where'd my radio go? There it is. Now, if I call ACM again, nothing's going to happen because I've already done that one. And I think the message might pop up. Let's see. Nope, doesn't look like the message even pops up. Okay, that's probably good. So let's do CAD F2. Our message pops up for that, and now we have this particular SAM site. Now we'll go back and let that fade. Let's go back to our other menu, BVR. There we go. Oh, and it spawned this one. I have these in 3 different directions because I wanted them to be pretty wildly apart. And of course, if you can't see them on the F10 map, you have to go up and try to figure out where they are. One thing that I'd like to do to make that a little bit harder is pop in other units around the map, but some are higher threat than others, but that's a different story. And finally, let's go to do the cast training. And now if we zoom in over here, it popped in these armor units over here. There could be armor over here. There could be armor over here. It's not like it makes it that much harder. It's just that you can't know exactly where they are. Now, the one thing that I think could make this insanely better is if I could figure out how to spawn units in a zone, because then I could put, of course, I also wish that DCS had something other than round zones. I'd like to be able to, say, put like a big rectangle right in this valley and spawn armor units in there somewhere and make them move across the valley or something like that. You should be able to even move to other zones, I would think, without necessarily having waypoints, or maybe even spawn waypoints in. Yeah, like I said it before, but Arma was way better at some of this stuff than DCS. DCS has its benefits, but Arma was way better in some other areas. But that's essentially what I've got going on here, and I hope that makes sense. And again, the idea is that we would jump in the F-16s and we would attack the SAM sites. Once we were good with that, we would call in the BVR and go engage them, and then we could call in these guys and fight them. Then we could switch over to the A-10s and go play around over here. Essentially to relax a little bit because there's not any really big threats over there. So that was the idea. You can see our guys coming in over here. I've got it set up to where it's just dots. I don't like the labels being it's really hard to aim with the labels, I think, and so I don't like that. But I did want to make it to where if we didn't want to turn the labels off, we could. So that's with the dots off. So you can still find things, but if you needed to, you could turn the labels on and you would get dots, but not really big, massive, massive words over, like covering up in little pointers covering up the objects when they're further away. It makes it harder to aim. So anyway, that's that. I hope it made sense. And if anybody has any questions, ask me. Also, if anybody has any better ways to do this randomization or knows how to do randomization in a zone where I just place it somewhere in the zone, I would greatly appreciate how to do that, because it would make it less complicated with having to set up 3 different groups and use the flags to trigger them in. I could just set up a zone and say spawn somewhere in that zone. That would be ideal. But anyway, this is the way I'm doing it for now, and it could add a little bit of fun to your missions where you jump in and you call in one thing at a time, and not just the last thing I'll say here. And I just thought of this as I was trying to wrap the video up, but it's not necessarily just about we don't know what we're going to do. It can also be that you're practicing and you don't really want to have to take on an enemy fighter jet while you're trying to find the SAMs. You might just want to go practice fighting the SAMs, but then you don't want to load another mission to fight the enemy fighter aircraft. So you can just call them in on the radio this way. This would allow you to do 2 or 3 training missions in one single jet at the same time without really having to worry about it becoming too difficult at once. And of course, if you wanted to step up the difficulty, you could just call in multiple radio spawn triggers at the same time, or in quick succession, and then deal with all of those threats at the same time. So it gives you some versatility in a mission, and that's what I liked about it. With that, again, I hope it helped. Holler if you got any questions or suggestions, and thank you for watching.